Ladies and gentlemen, herzlich willkommen and welcome to the press conference on the occasion of the visit of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Hellenic Republic, His Excellency Nikos Dendias. Minister Schallenberg, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Dear Nikos, dear friend, it's a true pleasure to welcome you back again in Vienna. And I have to say, in recent months, we have seen a very intensive succession of meetings between Greek and Austrian ministers. And you just met 3 days ago, you told me, the Austrian Chancellor Nehammer at the renowned Delphi Economic Forum. And I believe it's a proof of our extremely close and friendly relations between our countries. As far as the economy goes, I mean, trade relations have quickly and very strongly recovered from the COVID backlash. And actually, in fact, they're going beyond what we had before the COVID, and that is also due to the fact of the very strong economic performance of your government and the determined action you took to overcome the effects of the great financial crisis we all had to face together. And I believe it's very reasonable to assume, we just had a brief discussion on that your country again will be the most favorite destination for Austrian tourists in the coming summer. As far as tourism goes, by the way, I mean, I know that your government is pursuing a diversification strategy, reaching beyond the Austrian well-known islands and beaches to the superb mountain regions in Greece. And I believe there's some know-how Austrian companies could offer there as far as tourism in mountain regions is concerned. Both our countries, Greece and Austria, are cultural nations. We are proud of our culture, we're proud of our history, and we share an excellent cultural relations. And against this background, I'm very pleased that technical discussions are taking place between the Kunsthistorische Museum and the Acropolis Museum on mutual loans of the Parthenon frieze. Our common goal is to contribute to the understanding of its universal significance for the European cultural heritage. And this is a very special case, and it is important. It's important beyond the borders of Greece, because we all know that this is the cradle, not the Parthenon as such, but the Acropolis and Athens, the cradle of European democracy. So it is also for us of importance, and I believe, and I'm very hopeful that the talks can move on very quickly, and the marvels will be on display in Athens. But our relations are much more than trade and tourism. We share many common interests. For instance, on the Western Balkans, it's a common neighborhood between us. We both know that this is a region which is very vulnerable to influences from third countries or third parties, and that the EU path of the Western Balkans is, and that's a view we share, is not a nice-to-have issue. It's a must. It's the geostrategic litmus test for the European Union. And 2022, we had some progress. We had candidate status for Bosnia. We had the opening of accession negotiations for North Macedonia and Albania. We had a decision in principle for visa liberalization for Kosovo. But we are all aware that 2023 will be a difficult year. There are no low-hanging political fruits. And this year, it's the 20th anniversary of the Summit of Thessaloniki, where we all together gave a promise that each country of this region will become full member of the European Union. I believe it's high time to put our money where our mouth is and to make this region understand that they are welcome and they're part of our political agenda. And that's why I've proposed this creation of the Friends of the Western Balkans, because I believe we have to make very sure that there are no two-class society among candidate countries. The Western Balkans are on the path towards European Union, and we have to make sure that they stay there. Other issues, one issue which always brings us together, luckily you might say, is illegal migration. Here again, I'm very thankful for the outstanding cooperation we are having and for your efforts to modernize and streamline your legislation, and it's I believe a very positive sign that the number of migrants on Greek islands have gone down, but we all know that this pressure will never diminish. We will always be faced with migrational pressures, and we both have experienced the fact that sometimes you can feel very alone, abandoned by European partners if you're faced with a migration crisis. I remember the discussions we had in springtime 2020, and last year Austria was affected in particular. We had over 110,000 asylum seekers. 2/3 of them have not been registered before arriving in Austria. So they've passed several European states, and none of them actually applied the national laws, you could say very bluntly. So this is something where we're working very strongly together. We have a common interest. We need a functioning external Schengen border. You have all the support from our side in this matter, and I know that we can count on you also in the future. And last but not least, another common interest for us, you're working hard and very successfully to become an energy hub. And we support that too. But we know both that one thing is necessary for becoming an energy hub is stability in the Eastern Mediterranean, and that international law is applied in the Eastern Mediterranean. And here again, I can assure you of the continued support by the Austrian government in this endeavor. I'm very pleased to see that relations between Greece and another neighbor have eased and have become more positive. I'm talking obviously about Turkey, and I hope that this policy can continue. It has your handwriting on it, I know, but here again, I can assure you of our continued support and solidarity. Thanks again, my friend, for being here.
My dear Alexander, thank you so much for your remarks, and allow me to say how pleased I am to be again in Vienna today. As you were kind enough to say, this is one of our many meetings, and also this Saturday on the sidelines of the Delphi Forum, I had the pleasure of meeting Chancellor Nehammer. Well, today we discussed ways to enhance even more our relation, if that can be made possible. Economic relations is a field in which we could do more. We will be very much happy to attract more investments from Austria. There's lots we could do on energy. Thank you for mentioning it. An electrical interconnector between Greece, Austria, and Germany through Albania and the Western Balkans could be an important item on the future energy cooperation between us. Also, we discussed the need to raise awareness and enhance effectiveness at international level in combating illicit trafficking of cultural goods, in protecting cultural heritage. And to this end, please allow me to express my deep satisfaction for the announcement you just made during your remarks, having to do with the Parthenon fragments, the two fragments here in Vienna, one rather big ones, one is 25 centimeters, the other one is 65 centimeters. And I have to say this will move into a series of highly symbolic gestures, and they may create a positive momentum. The regional government of Sicily in 2022, and Pope Francis in January 23, returned to Greece part of the Parthenon sculptures, so this will be the third one. And this, for us, is of huge, huge importance. And also beyond the very fact of this, we believe that will create a momentum which we could use in our discussions in London, which I hope I will be able to successfully conduct in the end of the day. Now, we discussed about our close cooperation in the European Union and in international organizations such as the United Nations. As you know, we have exchanged candidacies. Thank you for your support for a bid for the United Nations Security Council. Also, thank you for your support in migration. Thank you for realizing how difficult it is sometimes and how lonely it feels. We discussed, as it is of course natural, the Russian invasion of Ukraine and a common position that the respect for territorial integrity and sovereignty should always be on our agenda. I would like to thank you on another issue for your contribution to INFICIP in Cyprus. We're deeply in gratitude to Austria. And thank you for your remarks on the Eastern Mediterranean. I have to say things are much calmer now, but yet we know that we could count, and we can count, and we will count on your support. we're pragmatists. We hope that after the Turkish elections, we may be able to try again to find a way out on our difference with Turkey. But of course, that can only be based on international law and international law of the sea. Again, Austria, speaking about international law of the sea, Austria is a proud example, because Austria is a landlocked country, and yet again is a signatory and has ratified UNCLOS, the international law of the Sea Convention.
And we have a judge in the Seegerichtshof.
Okay, which is but, well, I hope that other countries will follow your proud example. There are not many that have not subscribed, but there is one that's quite important for us. Well, thank you so much, really. It was such a great pleasure again to be in Vienna today. Thank you, Alexander.
Thank you, Ministers. We now have the time for a couple of questions. The Austrian Press Agency, Mr. Bospanek, please.
Thank you very much. I've got a question for you, Foreign Minister. You have written on Twitter that you are also going to meet Mr. Rafael Grossi today. What is the purpose of your meeting? Is it about a new Turkish power plant that you have likened to Chernobyl? What is the position of Greece? What steps do you want to take? And to your Austrian colleague, what is the position of Austria regarding this new Turkish power plant that is built and financed by Russia?
Well, thank you for the question. Of course, I didn't say that Akuyu, if that's the one you mean, is Chernobyl. Far from it. What I expressed is, and I do express always, my anxiety that the norms according to which any nuclear station operates are to the highest level. And let me say, Akuyu for us is right next door. So, of course, the fact that Director Grossi was there makes me calmer, but I would like to learn from him the status of that nuclear reactor. But it's not only that, and it's not the main reason I mean him. The nuclear plant in Zaporizhia poses a direct threat to the overall region, to Greece, but I believe also to Austria. And I would like to be informed on what's happening there and how we could be of assistance to him. I have discussed that with him last year. I'm going to discuss this with him during this visit to Vienna as well. Thank you.
Well, it won't be a surprise because it's a long-standing policy of the Austrian government that we don't consider nuclear energy to be a sustainable source of energy or a green source of energy. So if you ask me on my opinion on any nuclear power plant being built in Europe or in the vicinity of Europe, then you won't find me cheering. I believe that this is a policy we accept, obviously, the sovereignty of every state to decide on their own energy mix, but it doesn't prevent us from having a very clear view and policy on that. And on Zaporizhia, I can simply underline what you said. I'm in a very constant exchange with Rafael Grossi, who he and his agency are doing a tremendous job, not only in Ukraine, but also in Iran and other issues. This is probably one of the most important parts of the Vienna International Security Hub we're having here. And Zaporizhia is a true headache for all of us and has to be a true headache for all of us.
Thank you. I think there was one more question in the back. Bruce Vincent.
I have questions to both of you. There's also a big crisis in the South Sudan at the moment, and the UN expects around 800,000 refugees because of the fights there. Mr. Dendias, do you also expect refugees from the South Sudan in Greece, and also Mr. Schallenberg?
Well, we just finished, thank you for this show, we just finished evacuation of Greek citizens operation in Sudan. Unfortunately, the situation in Khartoum and in Darfur is not getting any better. So, yes, refugees are expected to move from Sudan to safer areas. What I hope that we can do and we can facilitate is them staying next to the Sudanese border while we're trying our best to bring a truce and a normalization at a later stage. Them leaving Sudan for Europe, I don't think helps them, and I don't think helps Europe.
Well, I can only underline I'm very thankful, and I've said already at the beginning of the week, to our European partners who helped us to evacuate the Austrian citizens in the last couple of days. I believe this was a very good sign of lived European solidarity. On the migration issue, yes, like any other crisis, there is this risk. I believe the best we can do also is to try to help on the spot, meaning that the turmoil stops, that there is the ceasefire, that normality can return. We are far from there yet, but I believe there is leverage on the European side. We can do our best, and we have to help the people to have a perspective in their own country. And what we are experiencing now, a coup and then a counter-coup, is something we thought might be, or we had hoped that might be the past in Africa. But now we're seeing it in Mali, we're seeing it in other states. So this is a situation which we are following very closely and we are concerned about, and believe the best we can do, as I said, is to use our leverage to pressure the partners in the respective countries to return to the path of normality.
This concludes the press conference. Thank you very much for your interest.
Thank you.